Let's do one more video on the immigration H-1B visa debate ranging within MAGA about high-skilled labor and the utility for it in America, where a CNN panel dives into this with some takes that I thought we could use to provide some really good additional context to the entire conversation.
If you're just recruiting like the top 0.1% of the best and most talented, say engineers from around the world, that's probably a good thing. I think where there's great alignment is on the need to eliminate the fraud in the program. And I think some of these visa programs are being used to bring people in for no other reason than to displace American workers and to do things more cheaply. So I think the common ground and the way forward is bring in the people who are the goats, of engineering from around the world. Bring those people here and then focus on American workers, American students for everything else. And that would be a good blend of how I think this is going to move forward.
That might be the case, but Laura Loomer is saying don't bring Indians into America. I mean, she's pretty clear about what
Now, to be clear here, Elon and Vivek are correct in this debate, but they're arguing the position for the wrong reasons, which we'll get to. But the issue for this with MAGA is, well, it's twofold, right? First is you do have a large part of MAGA who is just racist, who is just anti-immigrant and just wants to vehemently keep these people out of America at all costs, despite the logistics and how impractical that position is. They don't really think of it past racism, right? The other issue you have with this within MAGA is it's these two tech bro billionaires bringing in immigrants to ostensibly, I'm speaking here from MAGA's perspective, not the factual one, right? But they're bringing in immigrants to steal jobs from Americans. And that's exactly what MAGA feels that they voted Trump in to be against. So they probably feel duped that the man he's essentially handing the reins to, the man that they've now seen tell Congress to do something, and Congress said, well, how high, how hard, and just did it in the snap of a finger. They're saying that he's now saying, no, we do need immigrants. We are going to bring in immigrants. Despite the fact that he's right, it's still too much for them. But the part that does need addressed here is that these billionaires like Elon are doing it for the wrong reason. They're taking this H-1B visa labor, paying them lower wages than they would Americans, as they have all the leverage in this situation. If these immigrants don't work, they get deported. So what can you really argue? And it just leads to exploitation, especially when it's people like Elon who don't value labor and want to exploit it to enrich themselves. So we should put regulations in place to prevent that. But outside of that, Elon is spot on with his take of high-skilled labor. And I would just add that this extrapolates to low-skilled labor as well. The idea that we don't need more construction workers or retail workers, and that wouldn't help us to have a wider range of a workforce in those kinds of jobs is silly, but he can never go that far. I mean, he's being ostracized just for saying the top 0.0001% should be brought into the country, so you couldn't expect him to say anything else.
What we're calling the tech right versus the MAGA right is really a long-standing split in the Republican Party between libertarians and conservatives. The Republican Party has been holding together those two groups for a long time, and they agree on about 70–80% of stuff. This is a thing they've always disagreed on. Libertarians value economic growth and efficiency and free markets above all else. Conservatives go halfway there, but at the end of the day, will side with protecting American workers from foreign competition. So, you have to give credit to Donald Trump for holding those two coalitions together throughout the entire campaign so that this fissure didn't actually come to light until after they won. And now you're seeing it come to light.
So where did the significant contingent of ethno-nationalists fall within the conservatism and libertarianism frame? I mean, to me, that doesn't necessarily fit within either of those two.
Because I believe that part of the electorate of the Republican Party can be attributed to Trumpists or Trump Republicans, whatever you want to call them. It's this group of voters who, before Trump, probably weren't political, at least not largely. They probably had some innate sense of mistrust in the government, but probably never really indulged into it, looked into the government, anything like that. But because of the way Trump would speak on things, the emotions he would stoke in them, maybe it was one thing he really focused on, the border, whatever it may be, they came into politics through him, and now their view of politics is through his lens, right? Like Trump politics is all they know. And these are like the MAGA people, the Laura Loomers, and I mean, we all know someone like this, right? They're the people who, they couldn't tell you what taxes fund. They couldn't name 5 government functions. They don't know what politics was like before 2016. They don't understand the fragility of geopolitics or anything, but they'll weigh in on all of these issues, but only through the lens of how Trump does, right? And I think this third wing is mad that they are losing relevancy in the MAGA movement as billionaires take their place, as tech bros take their place, and their outrage is largely what's sparking the Civil War.
You've got, I think, a very incoherent MAGA coalition for years now, where you've got business elites driving the policy discussion, setting the policy agenda, as working class people are oftentimes getting screwed. I mean, the top priority for this incoming administration is going to be tax cuts for the wealthy. And we now see this conversation about immigration not even taking shape the way that white working class people thought it would.
So, so if I may ask a question, Madison, so you think working class people have been screwed by the immigration policy of the last 4 years where people are coming into the country and displacing American workers?
No, so I don't agree with the framing of that, actually.
I'm just asking because you said it. And I just wonder how they're being screwed.
No, I didn't. I said white working class people are being screwed by the Republican Party, whose top priority is tax cuts for billionaires and for billion-dollar corporations.
But you would agree that the flood of immigration has also screwed working class people.
Opposing minimum wage increases, opposing universal child care, and efforts to expand health care.
We're talking about immigration. We're talking about immigration.
Exactly. I mean, we have to be honest, right? MAGA was only going to be able to keep this scam up for so long of masquerading as we're for the working class, despite every single action they took benefiting corporations and the wealthy, despite Trump surrounding himself with billionaires, corporate owners, and the wealthy, and rather than, anything that disproportionately benefits the wealthy or the working class. Trump never passed a policy that disproportionately benefited the middle and lower class more than the top class. That is right there gives the game away. Every single legislation he passed fits this bill. And coming into this administration, that's his priority again with massive corporate tax cuts, as he simultaneously admits he can't lower grocery prices. And he's not even going to do immigration how he promised. We're seeing here, and it's like some of the party are just finally starting to catch on. Some of them are starting to actually look past just what Trump says and realize hey, maybe we're being lied to, yet a lot of those are still hesitant to blame Trump for it. So instead it's Elon, it's Vivek, these people who are catching the strays. And I mean, it's only a matter of time before the whole thing collapses now.